Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And we're going to talk about mental states today. Specifically, ways that you can change your mental state, why you may want to change your mental state, but also make sure that you have a balance. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by have a balance in your mental state? Well, a friend of mine posted something on Facebook a couple days ago, and it's very true. I'm just going to read verbatim what was posted. Life is not supposed to be all sunshine and rainbows all the time. Spiritual New Agers have a tendency to want to be in the light 100% of the time, and negativity seems to be frowned upon. This is called spiritual bypassing, and you end up suppressing your emotions. Your dark side has just as much of a right as your light side has to be there. Feel and accept it all. You have to understand your dark side before it can heal. And this is basically, a different way of saying let the yin and the yang both exist. What is the yin and the yang? You've probably heard it. You've probably seen the symbol. And if you haven't, I will try to describe the symbol for you. It's a circle. And in that circle, half of it is black, half of it is white. And it's sort of intertwined, not necessarily intertwined, but, it sort of starts as a spiral and then ends as sort of a big ball on each end. And inside of the black portion and the white portion is a circle of the opposite color. And there's a lot of symbolism inside of this symbol. So not only does it show, the contrasting light and dark, but there's a little bit of dark inside the light and a little bit of light inside the dark. The yin and yang symbolize the seemingly opposite and contrary forces that are actually complementary, interconnected, and interdependent. And one gives rise to the other as they interrelate to one another. So without the darkness, you cannot appreciate the light. And, hopefully, that helps sort of bring some balance and keep that in mind as we go through the topic today. First article here is 7 empowering phrases to tell yourself when life does not go your way. And then we'll get into a story to where some researchers actually discover how the words you use can affect your brain. So jumping into, I'm going to skip the introductory paragraphs of the article, 7 phrases to tell yourself when life does not go your way. But as always, the link will be in the show notes. You can read it at your leisure. Number 1 on the list, nothing is permanent. Every night it is dark, but every morning the sun comes up. You watch the darkness turn into light every day, but it's easy to forget that nothing is permanent when you're going through difficult times. Things may not be good now, but eventually your situation will change. The pain won't last forever. And every day is a new beginning. You can choose to take the new day and make the best of it, or you can choose not to. And speaking of pain, That relates to number 2. Scars show strength, not weakness. Lots of people worry that bad experiences have damaged them, but in reality, they make you stronger. You may have an emotional scar, but the wound has healed and the hurt is now over. You have learned from the experience, and scars are proof that you can overcome anything, no matter how difficult it feels. Now, this is a little oversimplistic because there is such a thing as scar tissue, and that can cause other problems. That's generally more along the lines of internal injuries. When I mean internal, I'm talking about, you dislocated your knee and it tried to heal itself, and now there's some scar tissue that's causing some joint problems. So, not all scars are completely painless. Some scars, especially, things that cause scar tissue, can cause some medical problems. But I digress and continue. Number 3, and this, I'm glad I opened with the quote that I did, because number 3 seems to want to do that spiritual bypassing thing. I can stay positive when others are negative. Sometimes people in your life will try to bring you down, but you don't always have to listen to them. Keep smiling and focusing on being positive, and remember that negative people are normally very unhappy. They want to drag you down to their level, but you can choose not to listen. You are your own person, and you don't have to deal with the problem by being negative. That's their choice, not yours. But again, you have to appreciate, or you have to go through the darkness to appreciate the light. As they said, not everything is permanent, or rather nothing is permanent. But you can't just completely ignore and bypass certain feelings that you have. Those are legitimate feelings. You just don't need to hold on to them. Number 4, going through pain will make me wiser. Every painful experience is a lesson that you can learn from. At the time, it may be difficult to see what the lesson is, but as you move on, you will realize that the difficult times taught you a lot about yourself. Be patient when you are struggling, and remember that eventually you will be a wiser version of yourself. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs with a story like no other game before. The liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to zog.ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, zog.ninja, code FPP.
You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerary supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
Hi, I'm Nick Hazelton from the Anarcho-Yakutalism podcast, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Going through 7 phrases to tell yourself when life does not go your way. And remember that just because, you're having a negative experience, don't bypass it. Let it happen. But try to work through it. It's the yin and the yang. If you only have the yang, then you don't have the yin and yang. If you only have the yin, then you don't have the yin and yang. Remember, you need both of them. Going back through the list very quickly. Number 1, nothing is permanent. Number 2, my scars show strength, not weakness. And I don't know, I'm going to divert here for a moment, as I sometimes do. I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones, and I've recently been listening to the Game of Thrones audiobooks. And there are characters in the books that are not in the TV show. And one of them that I don't recall being in the TV show but is in the books, his name is Strong Belwas. And he's never lost a fight, but he's got a lot of scars. And just looking at it, oh, wow, you've got all these scars. You must have, lost a lot of fights. No, Strong Belwas. And he does speak in the third person. Strong Belwas lets every man cut him before Strong Belwas kills him. So he lets every opponent that he fights give him a scar so that he can remember. And, those scars, all of those scars, represent all of the battles that he has won. And I never thought that I would make a Strong Belwas reference on radio ever or a podcast, but I just did. And it's very, very fitting. Scars show strength, not weakness. And also, and I know they're talking here about more emotional scars, but there's a quote from The Replacements. Keanu Reeves winds up being the replacement quarterback during an NFL strike. And one of the quotes that he says at some point is, chicks dig scars. The physical kind, not the emotional kind, but also, interesting quote. And again, scars show strength, not weakness. Number 3, I can stay positive when others are negative, but again, don't get into the habit of that spiritual bypassing. Number 4, going through pain will make me wiser. Number 5, even when I'm struggling, I'm moving forward. And this is so fitting in a lot of ways. The first triathlon, and actually the only triathlon that I've ever completed in, my goal, or one of my goals, was to just finish. Don't drown, don't die, and finish. And as long as I was moving forward, I was working towards the goal of finishing and not drowning while I was in the water and, not getting run over by cars when I was on the bike or running. So even when you're struggling, keep moving forward. When you're struggling, you are moving forward, unless you're, just sedentary or going backwards, which happens at some times, but you're moving. If you're, even if you're going backwards a little bit, you're moving. And there are times when you do have to back up just a little bit before you can take the correct path. So keep moving. Even if it doesn't feel like it, you're moving. You may experience career or relationship struggles, but they will help you progress through life so that you can find your true happiness. The struggle will be worth it, so get your head down and work through the difficult times. I think they mean get your head up, unless they're talking about, like leaning down to actually do some physical labor where you have to look down to do labor. Number 6, fear changes nothing. And this is fitting not only in the physical struggle, the emotional struggle, but also political struggles. I cannot tell you how many times people will say, but aren't you afraid of fill-in-the-blank boogeyman? Well, no, I'm not. And even if I was, what good would it do for me to just sit here and cower of something bad might happen? I'm just going to not do anything. I'm not even going to try because something bad might happen. If you choose to always focus on the bad things that could happen, you will never reach your full potential. The people who complain and worry the most normally accomplish the least. They're too busy worrying to be productive. Try to focus on the best thing that could happen instead of the worst, and you will soon feel motivated to take risk and chances. And number 7 on the list of phrases to tell yourself when life does not go your way. The best option is to keep going. Life will knock you down, but you have to get up again and again and again. And there's the song that popped into my head. I believe it was Tub Thumpin' by Chumbawamba. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. Yeah, that song, and apologies for the horrible karaoke. But I do know that some of you listen to this at, like 2x speed. So for those of you listening super fast, that went by really quick. And let me know how it sounds when I do this weird karaoke thing on a super fast pace. At times, and I'm getting back to the article, at times it will feel like it is impossible to get back up again, but you are strong and you can do it. Life may be difficult, but you are ready to deal with anything it throws your way. Link will be in the show notes. As always, you can read it at your leisure, should you decide you want to do that. And let's change gears and jump into the other article where some doctors have actually done some studies to determine that the words you use actually can affect your brain. Doctors Andrew Newberg and Mark Robert Waldman are authors of a life-changing book, Words Can Change Your Brain. We'll tell you about it here in moments on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And I've just got to say, I'm a fan of cryptocurrencies. Are you? Do you use cryptocurrencies? Do you use Bitcoin? That, last I checked, still had about 80% of the cryptocurrency market share, meaning that, there's hundreds of so-called altcoins, meaning alternative virtual currencies, things that are not Bitcoin, but Bitcoin still has about 80% market share. So, it's the largest one. It's the one that is often promoted when talking about virtual currencies. And if you use those and you want to keep your money in the free market by using free market money, then you need SpendABit. SpendABit is the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. SpendABit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Spend a bit. Use my affiliate link, spendabit.fppradio.com. And if you're a Bitcoin accepting merchant like I am, ask about their merchant suite so that you can potentially reach even more customers. Spendabit.fppradio.com. Getting into the article about the doctors revealing that words can actually change your brain. Again, doctors Andrew Newberg and Mark Robert Waldman co-wrote the book Words Can Change Your Brain. They say a single word has the power to influence the expression of genes that regulate physical and emotional stress. By using more positive words in our daily lives, the areas of our frontal lobes are exercised, making it more effective. By stimulating frontal lobe activity, you are developing an area that is in charge of telling you what is right from wrong and the ability to override and suppress socially unacceptable responses. As a result of frequent use of positive words, it will then give you the motivation to take charge of your life and your choices. What happens when we use too many negative words? The use of negative words activates the fear response, which raises the levels of stress hormone, which the amygdala is responsible for. Too much negativity, and we become edgy as the stress hormones take over our body. Although it might be true that a little stress is good for us, too much can cause many problems to our physical and mental health. And we were actually talking last night on Free Talk Live because, here in the U.S., we changed our clocks over the weekend. Well, in the U.S., asterisks, except for most of Arizona and all of Hawaii and some of the territories in asterisks. And we were talking about some of the problems associated with changing the clocks, and one of them is health problems, some of them caused by stress, some of the health problems caused from throwing off the circadian rhythm. And I know for me, my circadian rhythm got thrown off. I woke up an hour late this morning, even though I had 9 alarms that actually I think I've got somewhere between 9 and 14 alarms that go off every morning because I'm a very heavy sleeper. And one set of alarm, I've got 2 different alarm clock apps on my phone. One of them requires me to do math, and I turned some of them off and then fell back asleep because that's what I do at times. So anyway, a little bit stressed today because I woke up late and now my entire cycle is thrown off for the day. And that happens when you throw off the circadian rhythm. But two of the problems associated with increased stress are increases in heart attack and increases in stroke. After the time changes during the week after, there's a 25% increase of heart attack and 8% increase of stroke. And that's government manufactured stress. Thank you, government. But I continue because we're talking about the way words can affect your brain, and I started changing it to how government can affect your brain. Because, again, too much stress, too many negative words create stress. Too much stress has negative physical and mental effects, changing the way we view ourselves and others. The doctors added further that the use of positive language can start to change the functions of the parietal lobe, which is in charge of how we view ourselves and others. With a positive view of ourselves through the use of positive and encouraging words, it will make us lean towards seeing the good in other people. However, a negative self-image brought about by negative use of language can fill us with suspicion and doubt, causing us to be more wary of others, which changes the way we behave socially. Now, let's look at, instead of just looking at the results, let's look at the experiment that was used to come up with these results. Studies were conducted to see whether it is true that using uplifting words can help rewire our brain and thought process. A group of adults between the ages of 35 and 54 were tasked to write down 3 things every day for 90 days, for 3 months. 3 things that make them happiest and why they chose them. I'll tell you what happened when we come back here in the closing moments of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Why do they hate us? Is libertarianism compatible with Islam? Dobby Barker answers these questions and more in Voluntary Islam and Other Essays. He advances the voluntarist cause with analysis of the confluence of values between Islam and libertarianism, as well as contemporary movements from the Tea Party to the Arab Spring. Voluntary Islam by Dobby Barker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap, Spendabit, and Amazon at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry. Online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. Going over the experiment that was conducted that led a pair of doctors to conclude that you can actually change your mind by simply using different words. Again, a group of adults ranging between 35 to 54 were tasked to write down 3 things that make them the happiest and why they chose those 3 over a period of 90 days. 3 months into the study, it showed that these adults felt more happy and less depressed. The study was also able to tell us that we are all capable of rewiring our brains to become more positive by focusing on the events that make us happy instead of the events that don't make us happy. When we're angry, there are many times we use words which we regret using once we cool down. Experts say this is because when angry words are used, they particularly shut down the area of logic and reasoning located in the frontal lobe. The amygdala, which is our center for fight or flight response, then takes over. This explains why most of us are not able to think before reacting when we get angry. Because, again, you automatically, unless you've rewired your brain to go off of instinct, you then go into fight or flight response. Some experts call this amygdala hijacking. With the habit of using positive words, you can train your frontal lobe to be more effective even when you're angry so that you can become more logical when dealing with heated situations. If you're currently unaware, the article says, if you're currently unaware whether you're using more positive words than negative, start to pay attention to your word choice and write them down if you can. Also, to put yourself in a more positive frame of mind, well, try doing what the subjects of this test did. Write down 3 things that make you happy every day and start to see the positive changes in your life. Again, as always, the link will be in the show notes. You can read it at your leisure. And don't forget, check out some of the other projects that I'm working on, particularly Liberty Lobby LLC, where you can help fund, as part of a crowdfund, you can help fund a pro-liberty lobbyist. Not for hire. Doesn't matter how much or how little money you give, you are not buying influence. You are simply contributing to a lobbyist that you appreciate the work being done. Don't forget, every Friday I answer your questions. Send those over, ama@fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.